Thank you. And before I start on this lecture, I would like to thank, of course, first Professor Liu for having introduced me to you. Also, of course, the Palace Museum for bringing me to Taiwan, first to Taipei and now for the first time to Chiayi. And of course, also, I would like to thank the whole team of young curators of the Southern Branch here, who have been so helpful in seeing me around and talking to me.
在演讲开始之前，他想谢谢当然刚刚介绍他的处长，然后还有故宫让他从法国过来，然后还有南院这个很优秀的年轻团队，然后帮助他许多。
Right. What I would like to do today in a few minutes is to demonstrate, to prove, to bring the evidence for how merchant ships, sailing ships crossed the South China Sea, going from the Chinese coast down to the regions of Southeast Asia. I will show you maps. Or back, of course, from Southeast Asia onto China, because it happens in a very specific way that can only be explained if you really look at the technical texts and the maps that show how the way they crossed the South China Sea evolved in time and how did it work. All these texts appear only in the 15th century. Before that, we have texts telling you about, let's say, Buddhist monks who went to India through that route, or back, or travelers, but they are not technicians of the sea. They are not sailing people, they are not pilots, captains of ships. So their testimony is interesting, but it is not technically correct. So we have to wait until the 15th century to discover texts that are technically correct.
他这个演讲啊，他主要是要呈现15世纪一些商船或者是海上活动，主要是在南海就是中国南海和东南亚这一块，如何从中国到东南亚，然后如何从东南亚回去。因为在这之前呢，也许有一些15世纪之前，也许有一些文字的技术，譬如说是僧侣啊，这个旅行在这一带。但是直到15世纪啊，才有比较精确，譬如说船长就是真正在海上这个工作的人，他们才会有比较精确的一些地图出现。所以15世纪是一个很关键的这个年代。
Before we go into details, I would like to give you the context for this kind of navigation and why it is so important to understand how and where they sailed going from China to Southeast Asia. So this is the region we are interested in, of course, with the South China Sea here, including the waters of Indonesia, Malaysia. Along in this area you have very important maritime routes that are used for international trade, and many of the countries involved have seen their economy thrive because of international trade.
他现在就是要稍微解释一下这个，他刚刚讲的这些地图是发生在什么样的地方，这样子大家才会对接下来的这整件事情有一个比较全面性的了解。那我们现在看到就是地图上画出来这一块，它当然主要群岛是在那个印尼，现在印尼还有马来群岛这2块地方，然后这旁边的就是围绕着这个南海旁边的国家，全部都是因为这边有很多的商业啊，有很多国际贸易在进行，所以就经济就非常蓬勃的在发展。
Just the maritime route I will tell you about is, and explain why it is this one here, going from the Straits of Singapore and Malacca to the coast of Vietnam, along the coast of what was not yet Vietnam, but Champa, a Hinduized country, before it was conquered by Vietnam, then along Hainan, and then to the Chinese coast. This is the important route, and what I want to tell you is, why is it so close to the coast rather than go straight across, which would be easier? I mean, it's not.
它现在主要要解释的是那个地图上西边的这条，中间这条道路，从马六甲海峡上来到新加坡，然后沿着越南，今天越南的这个边境国境，然后到中部就是以前的那个战城，但是现在也是越南一部分，然后到海南岛，然后再往上。那为什么大家选择这条道路，而不是直接的从海中间这样子走过去呢？所以他接下来就是要解释这件事情。
Of course, I'm not going to teach you where China is. This is one part of the beginning of this route, or the end, depending on where you start from.
他当然就是现在就把中国指出来，这就是可能是起点，当然也是终点。
The other area, which is, let's say, one end or the beginning of this part of the route, which is the last leg of this long route, is this Southeast Asian area where large kingdoms developed over the centuries in Central Java, in Sumatra, Sriwijaya, for instance, economically very important kingdoms.
它当然终点就是在现在红色圈圈这边，那这边有当时15世纪有非常多重要的王国在这边兴起，譬如说爪哇王国啊，或者是三祈佛王国啊，那这都是很重要的古文明所在。
So this defines what historians and archaeologists define as interaction spheres, areas in which there is a lot of economic exchange, and this South China Sea interaction sphere is the one that I'm mostly interested today.
这个地方就是被那个历史学家叫做那个互动非常密切的这个区域，也就是他最感兴趣的这个区域。
But you should not forget that this route and this part of the trade route that links the whole world, in fact, before America was discovered, is also linked to the trade in Indian Ocean. First the west part of Indian Ocean, India, including India, and then the Middle East. And in fact, but it's not on the map, Europe, the Mediterranean, and Europe further west.
那当然，这个地方是在美洲没有发现以前，就是我们现在讲都是15世纪哥伦布之前。那这条路是非常重要，就是也是全世界重要的那个商路的一条。它当然连接了西印度，也连接到现在中东，然后更远到了欧洲，还有地中海，就是在最左边那个地方。
This is basically what I've been telling you in summary. And yes, maybe I should come slowly here. You have another route here, but I will not tell you about, which is called in Chinese sources the Eastern route and the Western route. What I will tell you about is the Western route because it is the important route. The other one is a minor route, it's longer, and it is much more complicated to sail, so it's not an important one. The Western route, sorry.
他现在要讲的其实就是专心在那个西边那条路，就是刚刚沿着那个越南那边往上走的。那东边那一条沿着菲律宾现在吕宋岛婆罗洲往吕宋岛往上走那一条东道，它是比较不重要的，所以他今天要讲的就是这个西边这条道。
The two routes, you can see the differences in the route. The western one is the real international route, the trans-Asiatic route, leading to the Indian Ocean and the Middle East and Europe.
西边这条道路是真正的这个国际大道，它就是通往这个中东啊、印度啊等等的国家。
It is also the straightest route, the easiest route to the Straits area, what is called the Straits. In colonial times, it was called the Straits settlements, Singapore, Malaysia, and the Straits of Malacca and Singapore, basically, and leading to Java also.
它也是通往这个马六甲海峡的重要通道，就是在那个殖民时代，这个新加坡啊、马六甲啊、马来西亚这些地方都被称为这个海峡通道，就是在马六甲海峡旁边这些国家。
This route led to, as I told you, very important states like Srivijaya, those of Central Java, but also in Islamic period, in more recent time, Malacca, which is a very well-known trading city of the 15th to 17th century.
这边也通往一些很重要的文明国家，譬如说，就是在今天的苏门答腊岛的这个古文明森奇佛啊，还有这个马六甲，也是当时非常重要的这个商业的都市。
These routes are important for the diffusion not only of of the economy, but also religions. Buddhism, when it came to China, traveled through the northern route, the land route, of course, the so-called Silk Road, but it also came through the maritime route, along the route that I'm describing today.
那这条路也对那个刚刚除了经济之外，也对宗教传播也非常重要。佛教有一条很重要的路，我们大家都知道，就是丝路嘛，哈，就从北边中国这边过来。那另外一条就是这一条路，就是走海路，从海路这边来传播。
There are plenty of products that were needed in China that came from the Southeast Asian area too. Gold is one product which is very well known. For the Indians, Southeast Asia was called the Islands of Gold, Swarnadvipa in Sanskrit. You have tin, metal tin, you have all the forest products that were essential for Buddhist rituals, benzoin, camphor.
它这边因为就是东南亚这些国家，它也产金嘛，然后所以有些东南亚群岛有一阵子被叫做那个黄金群岛，所以他们对黄金的传播，还有锡的传播哈，然后还有一些在佛教里面非常重要的这个木头啊、沉香之类的这个传播也是非常重要。
And if I may return to the map, if you move to east of Indonesia, what is today the east of the modern nation of Indonesia, all this area here is absolutely essential because the area is called in the Moluccas and the Sunda Islands. It is absolutely essential for the production of spices. And spices, clove and nutmeg, have always been attracting people from all over the world since at least 2,000 years ago. And, well, it is well known that the Han Emperor cleans his teeth with cloves. So that's about 2,000 years ago already, so he needed a clove.
然后东边这边啊，其实就是到了摩洛加群岛啊，或者是俊他群岛这个地方，也就是现在的那个东边的印尼呀。那这个地方很久以前，大概2000年以前就是以这个香料，各式各样的香料闻名啊，譬如说肉桂啊。那他刚刚也举了一个例子啊，就是譬如说2000年以前就有汉朝有一个皇帝，就是听说就是用这边的这个很重要的这边香料好像来漱口。
Right. This is another representation of the sea, and you will see here that you have two regions with islands here, small islands and shoals, and a few islands here, and very, very large, extensive shoals along the island of Palawan of the Philippines and the coast of Borneo here. These regions, you can see here, are separated, and in fact ships could come through here or here, but they did not until the 19th century, and I'll tell you why.
我们现在在地图上看到啊，就是那个中间这个海中间不是有两个岛啊。这个岛一个西沙，一个中沙群岛啊。然后它就是沿着刚刚的东道，不就是沿着菲律宾还有从婆罗洲这边上来嘛？那他说到了19世纪，其实是不会有人这样走的，没有人这样走。那他现在就要跟我们说这是为什么
you should know, maybe I should tell you that to determine the geographic position of a small island in the middle of the sea, you need a latitude and you need a longitude.
我们要判断呢，这个海中间有没有这个两个小岛啊？其实有两个很重要的东西，一个叫做经度，一个叫做纬度。
The problem is, you could not determine a longitude before the end of the 18th century.
但是到18世纪末之前呢，人们大概都不知道有纬度的，就是没有办法判断纬度。
Because to determine longitude, this is a bit technical, but that's the only technical part I want to say. To determine longitude, you need to have a very precise time record. For this, you need a chronometer, and chronometers were only invented in the second half of the 18th century.
那如果要决定纬度的话，其实有个很重要的事情，就是你必须要有非常精确的那个时间啊，你要有时间记录。那精确记录时间的这个仪器啊，它是到18世纪末，18世纪后半期才发明出来。
So before the end of the 18th century, sailors knew at what latitude they were, but they never knew here. They knew if they were here, 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 or here, but they couldn't tell east to west how far they were from the coast. So these shoals here became very dangerous because they could not know if they were getting close or not to them.
所以在这之前呢，那个可怜的这个航海员，他可以知道说他可以从南到北，他可以判断他南到北要怎么走，但是他没有办法判断东西它是到底是离了多远。
I will start with the way Europeans, in this case the Portuguese, learned about all these seas. If you look at this map here, this is a detail. This map here, if you are familiar with maps of Asia, you will see that it is a very strange way of representing Sumatra here. There's no Java, there's no Hainan here. This is Vietnam. This would be Bangkok here. You see that it is completely disproportionate and wrong.
左边这张图是葡萄牙人画的图啊，那我们可以看到这是那时候苏门答腊，然后这个地方是海南，那这个地方是泰国曼谷，所以这个跟现在来比，就完全都是错的。
This is because information was gathered when the Portuguese arrived in India, just 2 or 3 years before, when they arrived here. And this information they got from Indian sailors, from Arab sailors, most probably from Arab sailors who went further east but did not have maps.
它这个图是怎么画出来？就是葡萄牙人在画图的前2年，正好就是他才到印度去，然后他在印度呢就听到了一些人讲这些东方的故事啊。那这些人是谁呢？就是印度的水手啊，真主要是阿拉伯的水手。
So that already tells you how the Portuguese were learning to sail further east. They hadn't been there yet, by getting information from local sailors, pilots, and we know that they are Arabs basically, because if you look at the detail of this map, all these indications here in Portuguese give you the latitude of the various islands to which you have to sail to go to China. But they don't give you longitudes, of course, because it's not known yet.
所以这就告诉我们说，是葡萄牙人他怎么到他一个完全没有听过的地方，就是没有去过的地方，他都是靠这些阿拉伯水手口述给他们的这些地理资讯哦。然后像右边这张图啊，可以看到它其实就是把这个南北的都标出来了，可是它没有东西的资讯哦，因为刚刚讲的这个经度还没有发明出来。
And the way they describe the latitude is the way the Arabs describe it.
那他们描述这个南北的这个东西，这个地名的时候，其实是阿拉伯人，是跟着阿拉伯人来描述的。
Now, as you move into time and the Portuguese get a better knowledge of the region, in 1529, they already have settled in Malacca here. They have conquered Malacca from the Malays, and they have settled there, so they have gathered a lot of information on what is further east.
这个1529年呢，他这个葡萄牙人他其实已经在那个马六甲，就是我刚刚讲现在新加坡这个地方，所以他已经得到非常多马来群岛的资讯。
And all the maps, I'll show you a few, and then I will return to the 15th century. But all the maps that the Portuguese draw at this time, the maps that are done in Lisbon, which means they are very far remote from local information, and it takes sometimes 10 to 20 years from the information gathered in Southeast Asia, in the South China Sea, to be reproduced in Lisbon by official cartographers.
那这些地图其实都是在里斯本，在欧洲画的。那也就是说，在这之前的10几20年，都是在东南亚这边搜集资讯，然后最后是在那个里斯本由专业的地图绘制师把它画出来。
In all these maps, you start discovering this feature here, which is a kind of long sandbank going from here all the way down the coast here. Sometimes you have sandbanks the other side, but basically here it's easier. You have the coast of Borneo here, and you can see this long sandbank here.
我们可以看到那个地图中间，它就有画非常多的沙洲哦，这里也有，然后这边也是沿着婆罗洲的这边也是有沙洲。
We know from modern maps that the dangers for navigation are only here, here, and along the coast here. But in fact, in the middle there is nothing. But the Portuguese obviously did not know that there was nothing.
所以今天的航海啊，它其实并没有想象中那么危险啊。然后，而且这中间其实也不是这样，就是没有什么东西。那但是当时的葡萄牙人他并不知道那里面没有东西。
See, later maps, already in the 17th century, still have the same kind of representation of these shows. Even this one, which is very modern in many ways, still has them. You can't see them very well here, but they are here too.
所以我们到左边这张地图，你看到了17世纪还是一样，它还是画沙洲。那右边这边还是一样，它还是会把沙洲画出来。
In this map that I did myself, but using Portuguese descriptions of routes of the 16th and 17th century, you see that all the routes passed west of the real shows here that are called parcel in Portuguese, means a show, rocks in the sea.
这张图是教授他自己做的。那我们可以看到沙洲，沙洲叫做 parcel。那因为这个名字它其实是从葡萄牙文来的。那今天的那个西沙群岛啊，它就是用这个名字。
And the Chinese, of course, call it usually 万里长沙。
中文叫做万里长沙。那个时候。
The southern part, you see that it still indicates here all these shows that do not exist. But you have this group of islands here that are dangerous for navigation, and you see that the route keep following the coast, very close to the coast before they go here and then to Singapore.
我们还是在这张地图上看到，就是你看这个航线基本上都是沿着这个海边呢，然后就是每一个地名都描现出来，然后从这边下去到新加坡，那它还是一样，就是会把那个沙洲画出来。
Another thing that is important to learn, because that tells you how they got their information and how they learned how to sail in these seas, which were of course very familiar to Malays, to Javanese, to Chinese, but not to the Portuguese in the 16th century, is to look at the place names. Most of the place names in Portuguese texts of the 16th and 17th century are Malay or Chinese. Look at Pulau Sisir. Pulau is island in Malay. Sisir is a comb. They look like a comb, these islands, if you look at them from the sea. This is a place name which is Kumurin, it's Kamran. This one is a Malay word, Berhala, but that becomes Varela, which means in Malay a sacred place, a place that is sacred for, not for the Muslims, but for the people before, the Hindus, the Buddhists, which is exactly the meaning of the Chinese, the sacred.
所以我们在这边可以看到，就是我们要怎么知道葡萄牙人在16世纪是从这个马来人、爪哇人或者是中国人手上听到这些地名的呢？就是从这些地名的名字听到。那这个有一个地名呢，叫做巴哈拉，这个地方。这个地方那个巴赫拉，它其实它后来变成这个就是葡萄牙文，可是中间这个是马来文，好，它是从马来文变来的，葡萄牙这样写。然后那在巴哈拉，它在马来文的意思是神圣的意思啊，就是对印度教这个地方有一个山啊，它是一个神圣的山。然后在中文里面啊，这个也有这个灵，就是有一个神圣的感觉的，所以它其实是都有关系的。
The next one further north, Chincheu, is in fact Sinju. In Portuguese, it's Sinju. In this case, is a Chinese name, not a Malay name.
那上面的这个新州很明白，就是这个是葡萄牙文，所以它是新州这个中文，就是它从中国水手里面得到的，然后它把它翻译成这样子的葡萄牙文。
Now let's move to a 17th century map which is made in China, written in Chinese, but which is a map which is inspired also by European maps. So it's a hybrid, it's a mix of two kinds of traditions.
它这个图啊，它是17世纪的图，它是在中国制造，但是它好像又有一些这个葡萄牙的影响，所以它是一个混血的这个地图。
The map is kept in Oxford University at Bodleian Library.
它这个图现在在牛津大学的那个 Bodleian 图书馆里面。
But apart from the general representation of the South China Sea, this map has, like more ancient cartographic documents of China, it has a detailed route, which you can't see here, but I'll show it in detail, of the sailors going along the route I was telling you about.
它这个图啊，它除了就是一些，就是我们可以看到对南海的这个一些描述之外，就是我们刚刚看到的，然后它也包含了一些中国古代啊对这个南海一些航线的更精密的描述。
On the left hand you have the Portuguese, it's my own map, but to show better the routes of the Portuguese, which the western route, which is this one, and on the right hand side you can start seeing, but it's on the photograph you don't see it very well, but you have to trust me, it is written on the map, and you have this route which is exactly the same as on the Portuguese route.
左边这张图是教授自己画的，就是刚刚我们一直在讨论那个西道哈，就是沿着海岸旁边。那右边这张图大概看不太清楚了，但是把它明显标出来，看这左边跟右边的航线其实是非常相似的。
And it can also be found in earlier texts like the one I will show you, the Wu Pei Zhi, also in pilot texts like the Shu Feng Xiang Song, the Jinan Cheng Pa. All these texts describe the same route.
那像他也提到像什么湖北志啊，一些文献上面也都是提到这个刚刚讲的这个西道这个部分。
The eastern route, as I told you, is not the most important one. It is also represented in this map.
那我们刚刚讨论沿着菲律宾上来这个东道，它其实是比较不重要的，但是它在右边这张图，它其实也有被表现出来。
Now you can see in still a better close-up, you can see the routes here as they are drawn on the southern map. This is Vietnam.
现在就是大家就可以比较清楚看到，就是这是刚刚讲越南，然后这是新州政权，然后这有很清楚画出来。
And you can also see that how close to the coast they are, those roads.
然后这条路也非常靠近海岸线。
You also can see here plenty of little dots and the islands on the south, and the little dots going all the way up to again these reefs, the Wanli Shangsha, or with different names.
那中间也还是一样有一些小点点，就是在表现那个沙洲，这个叫做万里长沙，你看它很清楚画出来，这个是万里石岛。
So this tells you that, in fact, when the Portuguese arrived, they got their information from Asian sailors. This long sandbank or rock bank or shoal that they draw along the coast of Vietnam, in fact, existed also in Chinese tradition.
所以当那个葡萄牙人来到亚洲的时候，他的确是从这些当地的水手里面就听到这些事情了。但是在中国的传统里面，就是这些沙洲也是有的，它的确就是存在在这个大家的嘴巴里面讲的故事。
Here. If we move back in time, before the Portuguese arrived, if you look at one of the earliest maps with sea routes, technical instructions for sailors that have been found in China in the Wu Peichi, you have a representation here. This is the coast of Vietnam. This is no longer a topographical map drawn in a cartographic way. It's instructions for sailors. So it is not topographically correct. It does the description. It does give the description of the coast, not longitudes or latitudes at all.
这个图是我们现在要讨论，就是在葡萄牙来之前，那中国人怎么表现这一块的，如何在图上表现？那我们这个是五倍制，那它当然是不是用西方我们刚刚讲的那些制图的传统，什么经度、纬度啊，这完全都是没有。它完全就是用教学的方法，来告诉这个航海的人会看到什么东西。
And you will see here that you have a representation of these shoals I was telling you about that is very similar to those that we have seen in the Selden map and in the Portuguese maps.
所以在这个上面，我们可以看到这个下面啊，就也是出现了，就是有小点点也跟我们刚刚看到，就是在葡萄牙人的地图上是非常类似的表现方法。
Since this route follows the coast of Vietnam, one can go also into Vietnamese literature and texts to see if they have the same kind of representation.
它因为这条也经过越南嘛，所以现在教授就是要我们看一下越南的文献上面它是怎么样呈现这件事情。
And you have again a drawing of this long shoal or group of islands or shoals or whatever you call it along the coast of Vietnam, and a description of them not far from the coast of the province Quang Nhiet, which is the central part of Vietnam. There is a sandbank that stretches from the harbor of Dai Thiem, which is now more or less Da Nang in Quang Nam province, going all the way down to Sa Huang, which is much further south. It's hundreds of kilometers further south in Vietnam. And it tells you that it is approximately 600 li in length and quite wide too, 30 to 40 li wide. The Vietnamese, their texts are written in Chinese, in classical Chinese, these texts at least. And this shoal is a permanent danger for the ships sailing in the region, and the wrecks are so numerous that every year around the clock, people go there to collect wreckage. They collect oil from turtles also.
所以我们这个就在这个越南的典籍，它当然是用这个中文写的哈。然后他就很清楚的讲说啊，就是在这个地方不远处啊，就是越南中部不远处，它就继续有个沙洲，有个沙洲。那这个沙洲大概有500-600里长啊，30-40里宽啊。然后这个沙洲它其实是对于航海人会造成很大的危险啊。然后在这边乘的船呢这么多，然后每年大概1年呢，大家就要去清理一次沉船的残骸，因为太多了。然后他们在这个地方啊，这个地方他们会去采油，但是这个油是哪里来的？是从海龟来的。
Now, let's go back to the Portuguese. When they start, and these are texts that are written locally. They are written in Malacca, not in Lisbon like I told you before, the maps I showed, but they are written by a pilot who sailed these waters in between the arrival of the Portuguese in Malacca, 1511, and at the latest, 1513.
那这个图它是就是它不是像刚刚那样子，就是葡萄牙人把嘴巴讲的知识传回去葡萄牙宫廷，再从那边的人画。这个图是在真正有实际经验的这个船长啊，他1511年到1513年，他是在这个地方，在马六甲海峡这里。
So this is a time when the Portuguese did not sail to China yet. They were still in Malacca and sailing to Indonesia, to Java, but not yet to China. So they drew maps from information they gathered in Malacca, but from hearsay they could not check it in the sea by sailing along these routes yet.
所以这个年代1511年、13年，他们其实葡萄牙人还没有去过中国，所以他们都是在这个马六甲海峡收集资讯。那他们会去这个印度尼西亚啊，这个爪哇这边啊，但是他们这里的资讯还不是他们真正到实际走过的这个资讯。
And you can see here that it is in many ways incorrect because they could not represent in a map easily things that were told in an oral way.
那我们看这个图就是有点就是不太清楚，因为它好像跟我们之前这个看到它是用嘴巴用口述历史这种方式来画图是不太一样。
Whereas the Gulf of Tonkin here is not at all that long and deep, and here is the first representation of the island of Hainan. It's not very correct.
这边是海南岛啊，所以我们可以看到资讯有点其实不太对。
And the important thing for us for the demonstration today is that you have a representation again of these shoals. They are called submersible islands that are. It's almost the same as the Chinese I just showed, the Wupeizi.
就是我们看右边这就是今天的主题啊，这个又画出来这个一点一点，然后它的翻译其实叫做半浮沉的岛哦。那这个跟我们刚刚看到五倍制上面画的是很类似的。
This is just a general interpretation of these maps, these series of maps, when one tries to put them back on a real map. So you see the black ones are the ones by this Portuguese. You see that the Gulf of Tonkin here is much too long compared to the reality. Hainan is here. The coast of China is almost correct, or Taiwan appears on. I didn't show it to you because it's not my purpose, but it does appear in another map. But what I wanted to show you is this here, which appears like in the other maps, in the wrong position in a way, but it's there.
那这张图就是把现在跟那个以前的那个图把它套在一起，我们可以看到，当然就是以前图就错很多嘛，那可是也有几乎正确的，就像中国沿海，那台湾也出现了。那重点就是这个中间还是一样，就是点点就是来表达那个沙洲。
I'm not going to read all this. These are the texts. You have the Chinese text of the Wupeizi that I just showed a while ago, and this is the text written by the same person who drew this map. And if you compare the two, well, this is the Portuguese version, this is an English translation. if you compare the two, I'm not going into every word of it, they are almost similar. They give you the same stopovers in the islands, the same route basically that the ships sail, the Portuguese one and the Chinese one.
那我们现在就是那个5倍制也是15世纪的哈。那这个刚刚我们讲到那个在马六甲这个葡萄牙船长，他也是在16世纪初，就是1512年。然后这两个有趣的是啊，就是现在就比较这个中文的这个典籍跟那个葡萄牙人他说的这个话，两个人讲的话几乎是一模一样的。就是譬如说你要从哪里走到哪里，然后你看到什么山，就关于这些航海的细节几乎是一样。
You can compare them in a more systematic way, let's say, a more scientific way, by looking at in Portuguese text and in Chinese text how it works. Some parts are not complete in the Chinese text, but many are exactly similar. From here to here, from here to here, and then from here to here. They can compare very easily, and they're almost the same distance. The other thing is, sorry, go ahead.
他现在就是比较刚刚那两个文献啊，他就是前面就是有葡萄牙文，然后后面是用中文嘛，然后你就从这个点到下一点，这个点到下一点，这比较下来，然后几乎是一模一样。
The other difference too, and it's a very important one to show you how the Portuguese got information from Asian people to prepare for this first trip that they hadn't done to China yet, but they were already preparing for this, and obviously they got information, in this case, from Malay pilots.
那接下来他要给我们看一个证据，就是当然葡萄牙人还没有走过这条路嘛，那他都是从当地的水手得到这些知识的。那他接下来要给我们看是这些水手有可能是马来人。
When you sail in ancient times, you sailed in a ship, you had no chronometers, no right watches. What you use is what is called a watch at sea, not a clock, but a watch meaning a period of time. The Chinese used a watch called gun, and there are 10 in 24 hours.
那我们以前航海的时候啊，那在海上人他怎么算那个？他因为他没有精确的表嘛，好，那个时候是表发明之前，他要怎么来算时间呢？那中国人是用这个啦，用根。
The Malays use another word which they got from the Arabs, which is jam. You've got 8 in 24 hours. It's almost the same. It's 3 hours instead of 2.5 hours.
那这个马来人呢，他是从哪里得到？他计时的时间，他是从阿拉伯人这边得到。那这个东西叫做这个占，好，然后它是3个小时。
In a Portuguese text, using the word jam, which is not Portuguese, means that they got this text from the Malays, because the Portuguese will never use watches; they use distance, leagues, léguas.
那在葡萄牙人他看到这个占的话，他就代表他不是葡萄牙文，他是马来文啊。因为葡萄牙人他不会用这个东西，他都是用里呀，哈。所以我们在葡萄牙文里面看到这个，就代表这个的确这个是马来的影响。
And you can compare them here. For instance, the Portuguese text uses 15 jam. The Chinese one says 15 keng. Here it's 12 and 12. This one is slightly more different, but I mean, at sea you never know, depending on the wind, depending on the current.
所以你就可以看到，它就比较上面葡萄牙文，下面是那个中文嘛。所以在葡萄牙文的时候，它用的就是占，哈，就是这一段到这一段是用了这个15个占，然后这个是用了15个根。那像这个也是一样的，12个。那这个有一点不一样，但是海上可能会有一些不精确。
Since we know the distances well, you can deduce here the average speed of the ships of the time.
那我们在下这个是距离啊，就是现在的距离啊，那这是时间，所以我们就可以很精确的知道说，那个它到底航行了多少。
There it is expressed in knots. This is a sailor's term. A knot is a nautical mile per hour, 1.852 meters per hour. So it's not very fast, as you can see.
这右边这是现在航海的那个节啦，我们就讲节啦。那它并没有，我们可以看到它并没有开得非常快啊。
4 knots would be about 10 kilometers an hour.
大概4节会是1个小时开10公里这样子。
Which is normal for a sailing ship, a round merchant sailing ship.
就是那个时候的商船就是很正常的速度。
Briefly, without going into all the details, you can see there are other evidences, pieces of evidence to show you that the Portuguese, the Malays, the Chinese exchanged constantly their information. An Italian here arriving before the Portuguese talks about the master of the Javanese ship on which board he was, used a compass with a needle, as we do, and carried a map. So there were maps with lines, width and lengthwise.
所以我们接下来就可以看到这个马来人呐、中国人呐、爪哇人、他们葡萄牙人他们怎么样这交换资讯？那这个人是一个意大利人，第一句话这个他就有讲说这个人是意大利人，然后他就说啊，在这之前的这个爪哇的这个船啊，他是用一个指南针然后跟他们一样，然后你看它有地图然后也地图上面有长宽有高度。
In this I told you already about. In this particular text, the Portuguese text of the 16th century, he says, because I trusted the Chinese pilot, I found myself in the middle of these shoals, from which I was delivered only through God's mercy.
所以这个是接下来这个是我们刚刚讲到那个葡萄牙船长他不是这个1511年到13年在马六甲，然后他就是说我还好啊，我听了这个中国水手的这个话，船长话，然后我发现我就是居然在那个就是现在西沙群岛这边然后这一定是老天，就是还好我有被告知这件事情，是老天给我的恩惠。
That the person who drew these maps in the Portuguese text I told you of 1511, 1512, in fact we know where he got his information. He got it from a map called the Javanese map. Even though the Javanese and Malay are similar, comparable languages, they would both use Jam.
所以我们刚刚讲那个葡萄牙人，我们后来就发现他是从哪里得到他的资讯的？他是从一个叫做爪哇，就是 Javanese map， 就是爪哇的这个地图上得到这些资讯的。
The problem is this map was gathered by the captain Albuquerque, who conquered Malacca, and he wanted to send it to the King of Portugal as a gift to show how the local Asian pilots sailed and how they had a map. The problem is they sent it on a ship called the Flor de la Mar. The ship sank in the Straits of Malacca, never got to Lisbon. So the map, of course, disappeared.
那这个神秘的 Javanese map 呢？它就是这个葡萄牙人，他想要把它献给这个葡萄牙的皇室，但是很不幸的，这是要传承的，所以这个地图永远其实不见了。
All we have is a letter sent also by Afonso d'Albuquerque to the king, which sailed on another ship, so it didn't sink, and he describes the map. He traced the Japanese map in which Your Highness can truly see where the Chinese and the Koreans came from, what route your ship should take to the Clove Islands, the Moluccas. You may take this piece of map as at face value, because it was based on sound information, and it shows the genuine routes to follow on the way back. and it had the names in Javanese characters.
那我们现在可以了解这个爪哇的这个地图，完全是从这封信啊。那这封信就是很幸运的，在另外一艘船上，他就到了葡萄牙。然后他就说啊，你在这个地图上啊，你可以看到这个中国人啊、韩国人啊是从哪里来的。然后你要去这个东边的摩鹿加群岛，要去拿香料的话，要怎么走啊？然后你可以完全相信这个地图的这个讯息哈，因为这个，然后因为这个讯息都是真的，然后它都来回的路线都标示得非常清楚。
These are just descriptions of the same shoals. Again, you remember on the map, only the top islands and the bottom ones are true. All the others do not exist, in fact. But in the 16th century, and even in the middle, almost at the end of the 18th century, you still have descriptions of these shoals as if there were a continuous sandbank all along the coast of Vietnam.
那我们刚刚讲的这个现在这个西沙群岛，也就是在地图上都是有很多小点点嘛。那其实它只有最前面、最上面跟最下面是真的，可是你看，一直到18世纪1775年，这个西沙群岛在文献上记录还是一样，就是一直是被讲说，这个从那个这个越南啊，这个沿岸其实全部都有，这一直到18世纪大家都还是这样相信。
But there are some indications already that they are guessing that in fact it is not a continuous shoal. You can see here in the middle of these shoals are the Cannon Shot Wadomore. Those who sailed across them did only only with the help of God, but they are a few channels free from dangers, you see. So they are starting doubting about the exact geographical reality of these shoals.
但是大家开始有一点点就是觉得说，哎，好像可以从这中间走过去，因为他说，哎，你看这中间好像可以走哦，是安全的路哦，就是这个是16世纪的时候。
They always say it's with the help of God when they went through them by mistake. But it's not with the help of God, it's because there were no rocks in the middle at all.
就是这些人啊，一直就觉得啊，这一定是老天帮忙啊，我们可以意外很幸运的从这边走过。但其实这不是意外，因为它其实中间什么都没有啊。
This is, well, I'll pass this. Let's stick to the reality and not the poetry. But the first mention of a passage across these shoals, or imaginary shoals, arrives at the end of the 17th century, where you have a text that says, if you fear pirates along the coast of Champa, which is Vietnam, or for any other reasons, you may sail from Pulo Condor, it's facing the Mekong here, to Macau, outside of the shoal of Sant Antonio, another name of these shoals, and you will steer as follows, and then the details of the route. So here, suddenly, you can do it.
那忽然呢，就是在17世纪，就有一段叙述说，啊，你如果很害怕这个越南沿岸的海盗啊，然后你可以从这个就是湄公河沿岸外面的这个地方，然后到这个澳门，你就可以走这个浅滩呐、你可以试试看走这个浅滩啊沙洲外面，然后就是忽然哎。就是这条路可以走了，在17世纪末的这个描述里面。
The banks of Macclesfield, which are not above water, you can sail on top of them, were signaled for the first time in 1701 by the British captain called Macclesfield.
那这个 Macclesfield 它其实是我们现在翻译的中沙群岛了，它是在海底下的，然后你其实可以在上面航行。它最初是在1701年，是这个英国船长就叫 Maxfield， 他把它讲出来这个地方。
The first precise mapping is by a French team working for the Vietnamese king in 1787-88, and by then they know the longitude. They can determine the longitude. They have learned how to do it.
那在那个第一次在地图上描绘啊，是这西沙群岛是有一群法国人，他们是在为当时的这个越南人在工作的，就是1787年到88年。那他们其实也知道了这个怎么表达精度，所以他们可以把它画出来。
In 1819, an American traveler, John White, who traded in South China Sea, says that parasols were once, and even recently, feared by navigators. This archipelago, once so formidable due to its broad surface and the fearful character of that imagination gave it, ended up being only, after it was explored, a small group of islands and reefs set apart from secure channels.
所以到了1819年，这个美国人他很清楚就讲出来，这个西沙群岛啊，那以前大家都非常害怕，航海员非常害怕，但是现在发现这个群岛啊，因为就是距离很广啊，那为什么大家会害怕？其实只是想象而已哦。它其实大家都发现它只是有几个小岛和珊瑚礁组成的这个，然后大家还可以很安全的通过。
Now, just to summarize all this, you have the route that was taken during at least 18th century, the west route.
就现在就稍微总结一下，就是有一条路啊，就是我们刚刚讲到，你至少大家一直用15世纪，一直用到18世纪，就是这个西岛的部分。
The east route I've told you about before, it's another way of doing it, but the innovation that happened by the end of the 17th century is to have this middle route.
它就是东道，就是我刚刚讲比较少用的。那在17世纪发明的就是就可以走的这个中间那一条，就是大家发现没有那么危险。
This is the modern route that appears, and now the people do not fear to go this way because they know where it is here. They will not go along the coast all the time. Sometimes they will, depending on the wind of the currents, but not all the time. And the modern route of steamships and modern ships is this one.
它中间这一条就是大家发现那个西沙群岛没有那么危险以后，就走绿色这条。那现在的这个航线是这个虚线这一条，就是比较用汽船，用现代科技开的这个船。
So you see here how imagined reefs can be constantly reproduced into cartographic representations and trade routes for 18 centuries, even though they do only exist at the top and at the bottom, nothing exists in between, but still it keeps being represented all the time and has kept the ships sailing along the coast of Vietnam during at least 18th century. In fact, they didn't need to, but they did it, which is important for the history of the country here, because that means it could control that route. Since the ships were passing so close to the shore, pirates could do their job, merchants could do their jobs also. It has a lot of importance for the history of this kingdom here.
所以我们刚刚讲这个想象的这个沙洲啊，它其实完全是想象嘛，可是它不停的在我们刚刚的文献里面啊，或者是在地图里面看到。那这个想象的沙洲，它其实就造成了这条航线西边这条航线的兴盛啊，因为大家都跟着这个传说走嘛，那也就造成了，也就影响到这个越南啊这个国家贸易的那个。还有这周边西岛这周边国家的贸易的兴盛。
This was my last slide. Thank you for your attention.
谢谢大家。
If you have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them, of course.
各位有没有问题？
所谓的重要哈，就是这里头提到一开始的提到重要的通道，这个重要的通道，重要 这个是不是跟国家航行过来的路线有关系？
So you define two important routes, the west route and the east route. So how is it? Why is it important? Is the importance depends on the country where the ship from, or
Yes. If you read modern 19th century nautical instructions, when at a time when the longitude was well known and this new route was discovered, you will have descriptions on the advantages of one route or the other. In fact, you say that.
如果你看19世纪的这个航海书的话，就是他就会讲说，哎，你走这条路会有什么优点，你走这条路会有什么优点，他会很清楚的帮你讲述。
They conclude, I mean, Horsburgh is this British pilot who wrote this first modern nautical instructions for South China Sea and for Indian Ocean also. He compares in various months in the year, in the seasons, which is the best route, and he arrives at the conclusion that most of the times the coastal route is the better one.
And that was written in 19th century.
Yes.
就是19世纪，这个有一个英国人，他就写了一本航海书啊，他还比较南海航线在各个季节啊、各个月份啊、各式各样的，他比较了哈。但是他总结还是最好的道路还是沿着海岸的这条路。
It is better because of better winds, more stable, the currents are more favorable. In other words, it is faster, and it is the shortest.
他的结论很简单，因为就是沿着海岸这条路，这个风比较好啊，比较稳定啊，海流也比较稳定。那总之就是它其实因为比较稳定，所以它其实就是最快的一条路。
Even with modern ships of the 19th century, not steamships but sailing ships, the clippers, those very fast, long ships that used to bring the tea from China to India and Western Europe, and you know they were racing to be able to get as quickly as possible to Europe to sell the tea. These clippers, even with the clippers, the coastal route was the fastest one. Statistically, I mean, you had more chance of being fast on the.
就是19世纪的时候，就是中国用很多南方啊，用很多那个快船啊 ，clippers， 它把茶叶运到印度或者运到欧洲去。那他们其实常在海上飙车。那其实对他们而言呢，海岸这条路，沿着越南这条路还是最快的路。
So this is a good example on Horsburgh in the 19th century proved it scientifically, by experience and scientifically. But all the texts and all the experience of pilots before, they were intuition, they were, how do you say? They were experimental. They were not scientifically reasoned, but in fact they gave almost religious reasons not to sail across that, because it was in fact economically more viable to take the other route, the coastal route.
那我们19世纪，你看，就是大家科学比较发达了以后，就是可以用科学的方法来验证，的确，就是海岸这条路是最快、最安全、最稳定的。那可是我们在那之前看到，从15世纪到18世纪，所有的人都是用直觉的方法，就是说，哦，那边很危险，或者是口述的方法。可是这个结论几乎是一样的。
我了解这个情形哈，因为我为什么问这个问题？它不是一个总结的经验，也就是如果我们从19世纪来往前推的话，当然我们知道可能西道比东道安全多了，但现在不是，大航海时代是从15世纪以后往后发展的，那这里头牵涉到人们的经验，他怎么去判断？在还没有总结经验之前，我们如何去判断西道比东道安全？所以这个问题是还牵涉到这个西道东道到了台湾之后走的是台湾东岸西岸，这个可能跟其他国家不一样， 西班牙为什么发现菲律宾？如果他走西道，他发现不到菲律宾，所以我才会说这个是不是从原来的欧洲国家往东方发展的时候，他们牵涉到路线和利益上的不同之后，才有这样的分别出来。
Why he's asking these questions? Because he thinks it will be a conclusion. You see the conclusion first. You see the 19th century's conclusion first, then you trace it back and say this is important. And if at the West Road and the East Road, and when you travel to Taiwan, and that will be probably a different route up in the sea. And especially why Spanish discovered the Philippines, and why they travel to that part of area, regardless of all the danger and all the the shows. So he's asking, maybe the importance you see in these routes are based on the European point of view?
Yes, I see the reasoning, but I don't agree. This is a trans-Asiatic route leading from the southern coast of China, Guangdong, Fujian, Chenzhou, Guangdong, etc., to Europe. And this is the main route. All the exports in China, even before, much longer before the Europeans came, was already the main route. All the itineraries that are not